Washington, D.C. virtual platform, September 19, 2025. In a dramatic display meant to underscore his administration's hardline stance on narco-trafficking, US President Donald Trump released a video on Friday showing a missile strike obliterating a small vessel allegedly carrying drug smugglers. The video, posted on his Truth Social account, depicted the boat engulfed in flames after being hit by a precision missile. The release of the video was not just a piece of visual propaganda. It came accompanied by a written statement from Trump that combined legal justification, moral outrage, and his familiar combative tone directed at traffickers and those he described as terrorists poisoning America. The footage, which lasts just over a minute, shows what appears to be a fast-moving vessel suddenly struck, erupting into fire and thick black smoke before sinking into the sea. According to Trump, the vessel was affiliated with a designated terrorist organization and was intercepted in the United States Southern Command's U.S. South Command area of responsibility. The president paired the visuals with a lengthy caption intended to leave no doubt about both the justification and the intended deterrent effect of the strike. Donald Trump declared, "On my orders, the Secretary of War ordered a lethal kinetic strike on a vessel affiliated with a designated terrorist organization conducting narco-trafficking in the USS Southcom area of responsibility. Intelligence confirmed the vessel was trafficking illicit narcotics and was transiting along a known narco-trafficking passage en route to poison Americans. The strike killed 3 male narco-terrorists aboard the vessel, which was in international waters. No U.S. forces were harmed in this strike. Stop selling fentanyl, narcotics, and illegal drugs in America and committing violence and terrorism against Americans." The language was blunt, capitalized in places, and characteristically Trumpian, designed as much for dramatic emphasis as for policy clarity. For Trump, this announcement marks another moment in his presidency where state action is communicated directly through his own social media account, bypassing the traditional chain of press briefings, Pentagon statements, or measured diplomatic language. The use of Truth Social for such a sensitive military disclosure immediately raised eyebrows among national security observers. It was not the first time Trump has preferred the immediacy of digital platforms to project strength, but the release of actual strike footage, something usually declassified only after internal review and media coordination, represented a striking escalation in transparency and theatrics. According to the president's own words, intelligence agencies had confirmed that the vessel was engaged in the trafficking of narcotics. He linked the operation directly to America's opioid crisis, suggesting fentanyl and related drugs were part of the intended shipment. By branding the smugglers narco-terrorists, Trump blurred the line between organized crime and terrorism, a deliberate rhetorical choice with significant policy implications. Designating traffickers as terrorists allows the U.S. government to expand military options under counterterrorism statutes rather than limiting operations to law enforcement or Coast Guard jurisdiction. The president's language, en route to poison Americans, was calibrated to tap into public anger over the drug epidemic, which continues to claim tens of thousands of lives each year. By linking traffickers to terrorism, Trump positioned the strike as both a counter-narcotics measure and an anti-terrorist action. One notable detail in Trump's statement was his emphasis that the strike occurred in international waters. That phrasing is critical. It shields the administration from accusations of violating another country's sovereignty and underscores the global nature of the narcotics trade. However, legal scholars note that even in international waters, the use of military force against a non-state actor requires specific authorizations. By citing the smugglers' alleged affiliation with a terrorist organization, Trump's administration appears to be justifying the strike under existing U.S. counter-terrorism authorizations. This approach mirrors tactics used in past decades against Somali pirates or suspected al-Qaeda operatives at sea, but its application to narco-trafficking marks a significant evolution in U.S. military doctrine. Trump's all-caps warning at the end of his message, "Stop selling fentanyl, narcotics, and illegal drugs in America and committing violence and terrorism against Americans," was not only aimed at the smugglers destroyed in the operation, it was a broader threat to drug cartels, transnational gangs, and potentially even state actors accused of tolerating or facilitating narco-trafficking. The president's rhetoric reflects his long-standing political strategy of linking border security, crime, and terrorism into one unified narrative. By publicly showcasing the strike, Trump sought to demonstrate decisive action while reinforcing his administration's framing of drug smuggling as an existential national security threat rather than simply a law enforcement challenge. The announcement came as Trump faces ongoing scrutiny over his handling of media criticism, his clashes with Congress over military deployments in American cities, and diplomatic flashpoints from Ukraine to East Asia. By pivoting to a successful kinetic strike abroad, the president appeared eager to remind the public of his commander-in-chief role and his administration's capacity to act unilaterally against threats. Supporters quickly seized on the video as proof of Trump's toughness and his willingness to take bold action where previous administrations hesitated. Critics, however, worried about the precedent of live-streaming military operations on political platforms and questioned whether the release of such footage could inflame tensions or complicate intelligence operations. The strike highlights a number of broader questions: transparency versus security. Should presidents share real-time or near real-time military footage directly on personal or political accounts? Legal precedent. Will labeling narco-traffickers as terrorists become a standard justification for lethal military action beyond US borders? Geopolitical fallout. Could allies or neutral countries object to such actions in international waters if they see it as overreach? Trump's decision underscores his continued reliance on shock, spectacle, and direct communication to frame his presidency. It also signals a shift in US military posture, where drug traffickers, once the focus of law enforcement and counter-narcotics agencies, may now find themselves targets of military-grade force. President Donald Trump's publication of a missile strike video on his Truth Social account was more than just another social media post. It was a calculated act of political theatre, military signalling, and domestic reassurance. By pairing dramatic visuals with uncompromising words, Trump projected an image of strength aimed at both foreign adversaries and his domestic base. The core message was unmistakable. The United States, under his leadership, will not hesitate to use lethal force against those he labels narco-terrorists, as he himself put it, in words that will likely reverberate far beyond the video itself. On my orders, the Secretary of War ordered a lethal kinetic strike. The strike killed 3 male narco-terrorists aboard the vessel, which was in international waters. No US forces were harmed in this strike. With those words, Trump tied America's drug epidemic, global counterterrorism, and the reach of US military power into a single narrative, one designed to resonate across political, social, and international spheres.